What's up, nerds? Last week's vlog was a bit more rambly than I was intending, even for me. Probably didn't need to say both of those things necessarily in that order, but whatever. Still, learning process, all that. So this time I'm going to try to focus a bit more on a more limited number of things instead of going on tangents every time I had a random thought. Maybe I'll work with balancing that out as I start doing these. Yeah, whatever. But most of this week was actually spent watching the first season of X-Files, which I watched. Well, pause. I decided to rewatch it because while getting caught up with some episodes of the Nerdist podcast, one of the episodes was Gillian Anderson, who played Detective Scully. Or Agent Scully, not Detective Scully, derp. It's like I've never even watched that fucking show. Anyway, it's just the fact that even all these years later, she was still really excited to talk about it. And I watched the show while it was airing, and it started airing in 93, 94, and I was born in 87, so I was very young and barely sentient, just beginning to make my way in the world of nerdy things. So my memory of it is cloudy at best, and then I didn't really watch the later seasons. My parents watched it, so I at least had vague ideas of what had happened in the show after I quit watching myself, but this is basically like watching it for the first time, and there's an episode now and then that I kind of remember what's going on, or one that I figure out anyway because it kind of set a lot of standards and all that. But it's held up really well. I'm actually really impressed, like with the exception of the one episode early on where there was an entire building that was operated by an artificial intelligence, and it became aware and stuff happened, and it wasn't that the plot line itself didn't hold up. It was just all the like circuit boards and weirdness with, it's 90s future tech in the same way that old editions of Shadowrun look really weird because it's what they thought the future would be like in the 80s, or the computers on the spaceships in the Alien series, because it was the 70s and everything's all blocky CRT monitors and vector graphics, even though, no, just not at all. But aside from that, it's held up really well. I can't remember how many episodes are in Season 1, but I've watched 20 over the course of the week, on top of all the other things that I normally watch, so I'll probably finish that later tonight. I actually wanted to finish before I started recording, but then the day just kind of got away from me because I wake up at noon and then there's not a whole lot of day left. And then, actually today, well, no, I didn't start it today. I started reading earlier this week. I read a large chunk of it today, but I finally started on the second volume of Flight, which I may have mentioned that I was going to start in the last vlog. I can't remember it, honestly. But I read the first volume maybe... now that I think about it, it's probably been almost 2 years since I read the first one, because I was working at Amazon, and that was not a short time ago. And I'd actually found it just while I worked in the pick department. I was walking around, I was grabbing things for orders, and I just grabbed I grabbed volume 4 of the collections, and the cover was just it's like a city on the back of a flying whale, and I was like, this might be worth a read, and so, go home after work, look it up, and find out. I'll order the first one, read it, and I think I read it in a sitting, even though it was like 300 pages. This one's 500, and has a lot more of the stories that are just like panels but with no speech bubbles, which I really like because it's a very particular kind of storytelling, which relies, entirely on the actions of the characters and no context other than just what you piece together yourself. And it's obvious what's going on. It's not like you have to spend 5 minutes looking at a panel to figure out what's going on. And that's, part of why I like it. Like, without words, what words am I looking for right now? Without necessarily framing the intent of the story, they're able to communicate it, as far as I'm concerned, flawlessly. And it's just really fun. I want to say there are 8 volumes of it. There might actually be 10. I have the first 3. I'm about to finish the second. I have 4 or 5 stories left in it. I can't remember if I mentioned that. I know I mentioned it last week, if I mentioned it at all. But instead of a single story, it's a short story collection. But they're, comics. And they're all from different authors. There are some repeats. There are some that continue throughout different volumes. But for the most part, they're all just these little self-contained stories. The first one, it kind of felt like they were trying to center them around flight, like birds, things that can, people with planes, flying trains in the future, stuff like that. This one has been a lot more. I think there's a tagline somewhere on one of the books called Flight of Imagination, and I think that's more of what this is, of just getting these small, imaginative stories, getting them all in a collection, and then just sending them out into the world. And I don't know if they were released individually and this collected them, or if they were released in collections. I need to look more into that. But it's very good, very worth your time if you enjoy comics at all. Just so many different art styles and storytelling techniques within a single book. And it's just why I like short story collections. And I had always kind of wanted something equivalent with comics. And I found it I wanted it without knowing I wanted it, because I just loved these collections to death. So yeah, there's that. What else have I done this week? Did I mention this? No, because when did I get it? No, it was it was this week, so I got the Kingdom Hearts, the first HD Remix collection, which reminds me how frustrating the first Kingdom Hearts game was. I don't know if it's just because I haven't played this type of game a lot lately, or if it's actually starting to show its age, but there are some really frustrating parts that I don't remember being that frustrating last time. Like right now I'm on the Tarzan planet, so like the second planet after Traverse Town, not counting the Colosseum, since it's its own little bubble off to the side from the rest of the world. But just like button prompts not prompting, not being able to advance because there's the vine swinging mechanic and the button prompts don't work, so I just fall into the hippo ponds or whatever, and the gummy ship combat, at least with the starter ship, the laser doesn't go where the crosshair goes. Like at all. And I remember fixing that by basically strapping 9 cannons to the front of it, so I basically just kind of pointed in a general direction. And then it just, whatever needed to be destroyed was destroyed, because there were 9 lasers just flying everywhere. Obviously I'm not going to quit, because Kingdom Hearts 3 coming out. I never finished 2, and I only played the main games. So I've never played any of the side games from handhelds just because the PSP always gave me eye strain, and the ones for Game Boy Advance and 3DS DS I just didn't buy, even though I had those. But yeah, frustrating. Kind of frustrating. Not even difficult. Like, if the game were difficult, I would be perfectly fine. But it's just simple and straightforward, but the controls just sometimes will not let you do what you want to do, or what you need to do, which is always frustrating. And in a similar vein, no, not a similar vein because they're video games, but Lego Batman 2, I have 3 stages left of that one. And I remember the original Lego Batman I played to 100%, which took 2 months, maybe? And frankly, with this, I'm perfectly okay with just finishing the storyline and then moving on to Lego Marvel Heroes. I got all of them a couple of months ago. They were on sale at Green Man Gaming, and of course, by the time I finally finish the first game of that chunk that I bought, they've gone on sale again with a better discount coupon. So yeah, I have that bad habit of buying a game when it's on sale, and then by the time I play it, it goes on sale again for even less than I paid when it was on sale the first time. So that's always just makes me feel like I spent my money well. Speaking of money well spent, got Hyper Neptunia Rebirth 1, which I own the original. Never really played all that much of it. I got this... can't speak. I got the special edition one, like, way back when it first came out, just because the game looked entertaining enough. It was a JRPG. I was on a JRPG kick at the time. And so I think it was the same price as the base game, so it might have just been that all the first pressings were the super-duper fancy deluxe edition, but bought that, played 4 hours of it, and I just didn't like the gameplay. And heard that the later ones had been improved, but I never played them because they were, I think, direct sequels, so they wouldn't have made any sense. But the remake that just released on Steam uses the combat from the later games, so I figured I'd give it another shot, and it was $10, and it's fun. Played about an hour and a half. I'm sure I'll continue it at some point. It's still on my desktop, so, I mean, a lot of things are on my desktop. What all is? Banner Saga, Alan Wake, Witcher 2, Jade Empire. All games that have been installed for months and I haven't touched. So, that'll be something I do at some point. That might actually be all. Like I said, still working on the format of these. Not that, I mean, the format of Stream of Consciousness, rambling about what I've done this week. Such that it is. I just need more practice at this. Channel business. Probably not going to do anime first impressions just because I don't always have to watch them as soon as they come out. There's a handful of series where I do watch them when they come out just because I don't have anything better to do that day. But I don't know, my first impressions aren't very deep, and I don't feel like I can actually make videos based on them, other than, as a mention on something like this, which is just, where I make mentions of everything that happens over the course of a week. So I'll be playing around with trying to find stuff to make videos about during the week, because just one video a week it's just not a lot, really, especially when it's this low effort. Just turn on the camera, talk for 15 minutes, and then you're done. So I'm going to work on that. Been reading through some role-playing game books. I might do something involving those. Still doing the Sunday Skyrim stream, which I just finished the Companions quest line. Tomorrow, as of recording, tomorrow as of the day that I'm actually recording this, by the time anyone actually watches it, who fucking knows, I'm either going to start the Imperials quest line or play around and use the rest of the hag heads to cure the other companions of their lycanthropy. Cure my characters so I can actually get rest bonuses and do some off-camera smith leveling so I actually have some decent armor other than vaguely improved leathers. I'm going to try to stream more during the week. I thought about streaming Lego Batman 2, but it changes the color scheme on my computer and it makes everything freak out, so that one's out. So when I start Lego Marvel, I'll probably stream some of that, because I am going to 100% that game. Whether or not it's all on camera or on stream, to be determined. Doubtful though, because that would just be tedious to watch, I'm sure. But besides that, that is all for this week. So until I make another video, or until terrible at sign-offs. This is going to become a thing. It's going to be a joke where I'm terrible at sign-offs. And that'll be my sign-off. And I don't know if I'm okay with that. We'll find out. Until next time.